right. Good evening, my queens and also my kings. Join in, join in. So tonight, this is our second episode of Women Monsters, Toxic Femininity. Never mind my voice. So we already know the theme song is It Is a Man's World. But as James Brown said, you will be nothing without a woman or a girl. So look, let's just go ahead and get into it. So tonight the topic is women versus women. So what has is I'm not even going to say what I am noticing. I am going to say what has been a major theme, um a major thing. I would say just a major challenge, a major issue in society is women tend to want to talk about the issues of men abusing women, men denigrating women, men attacking women, and men not supporting women. But yet, it has been proven that there are less women that support women when it comes to empowerment, when it comes to the movements, when it comes to support. So, what do we need a man for to beat us down, denigrate us, and tell us that we're less than when we have women doing it to other women, right? We don't need the men to help us and assist us on that. When in all actuality, if we're really keeping it real, you have more women that talks about other women, that abuse other women, that betrays other women, that backstab other women, right? So let's keep it real, right? Because what seems to be happening, and we're gonna jump into the facts of how I came up with the topic and my supportive information that actually supports the statement that I'm saying, right? So last week we talked about misogyny. Misogyny is the basic definition of seeing things from a man's lens because as it is said, this is a man's world, right? It's a man's world. Let's face it. Let's face it is a man's world. Man make the laws, they make the rules, we have to follow, we abide by it. Because hey, it says, never mind my voice. Even when we have a voice, we really don't have a voice. But what we're going to talk about tonight, we're about to get to the truth. We want to talk about what is this thing about other women that claim that they want support from women, but yet they're the main haters, they're the main betrayers, they're the main Judases in the midst when it comes to women supporting women. We don't need the men to tear us down because we do it to ourselves. It's just like the same political stance that Black Lives Matter. And I might get a little pushback from this because I'm a woman of color. But you have the group, the organization Black Lives Matter that's advocating for people of color, but yet the crime rate and statistics shows that there are higher crime rates from people of color that kills people of color. So that's the irony of these topics, right? So that's why we want to talk about tonight. We want to talk about what is female misogyny, or is that even such a thing? It most definitely is a thing. So let me tell you all, let me give you the definition of what female misogyny is, and then we're getting ready to go ahead and talk about these female versus female issues, these issues that women tend to have amongst and against one another. And we want to talk about what is it about women that can't, why women can't support women? What is it about women that they can't inspire one another? They can't stick together. It's like with men, when they have issues, they got that brotherhood, they have all these codes that support, bros before, you all know what that is. Money over. They have all these codes, and it seems that the men tend to know how to stick together. I'm assuming that that's why it's considered to be a man's world, because all it takes is one man to create division between multiple women, and there you have it. You have women trying to pull wigs off of each other's head, or you have one competing with the other, or hating one because of this one man and these issues. You know what I'm saying? That it's the issue where the man has come in and caused a division between the women, but yet women don't care about that. It's like what is this internal conflict that women tend to have, to the point where they have to beat, abuse, mistreat other women? What is that called? And why do women do that? So let's get to it. It's called female misogyny. Female misogyny. What is that? Another word for it is called internalized misogyny. That is when there is hatred or contempt, or there is prejudice against women or girls. Women who experience internalized misogyny may express it through minimizing the value of women, mistrusting women, and showing gender bias in the favor of men. So meaning, say for example, you have a young lady that's applying for a job, and the owner of the business is a female. So you know how you have some, prime example, you got the Diddy thing, where a lot of this stuff is in the newspapers, on social media, that Diddy was forcing all people, male and female. He was forcing people into, or manipulating people into committing sexual acts for contracts, for some type of gain. Well, there are women that also do the same thing towards women. And what is that called? It's called female misogyny / internalized misogyny, meaning a woman in power, instead of showing compassion to another woman, instead of showing empathy or sympathy or some type of understanding, they take the abusive tone or the abusive position just as a man would, because they're dealing with this internalized misogyny where they tend to hate women themselves. They really hate themselves. So instead of coming out and saying, I got a thing against a woman, well, it won't look appropriate. It won't even be received. And then sometimes these women that tend to carry this attitude, female misogyny, they don't even know that they're dealing with it, or they don't even know that they're experiencing themselves. So let's talk about what this is. Let's talk about why there are so many women versus other women. Women against women. Let me see if I have another note on this before I move into our content. No, not right now. So I looked up, I researched, I wanted to know why. Okay, you got so many women talking about this feminism and this feminist movement. So I went to doing some research on, do women actually support women the way that they say that they are supporting women? Or are they supporting women the way that we would think that women are supporting women? Well, it turns out when I did research and then I looked up information on, let's just go to women's sports. It's ironic that so many women are complaining about the men not supporting women in sports, in basketball. This is a highlight. This is a huge controversial topic now. Well, research is showing that only 44% women support women in female sports. I was looking at a YouTube channel today, right? And this guy, was interviewing a bunch of people, a bunch of females that supposedly supported the feminist movement. So they asked him, he said, "Y'all feel that women get paid the same as men?" So the people said, the people that he interviewed said, yeah, women should have equal rights. So he goes on to say, well, do you support the women movement? So everybody he interviewed, they said yes. So the show I'm looking at, it was called Daily Caller. Daily Caller. So he's calling out people about this feminist movement. Women supposedly supporting women. But when he asked them the question, name a famous WNBA player, name a famous female athlete, do you know most of the people that he interviewed, as a matter of fact, the entire show was based off of the people that he asked that supposedly supported the feminist movement, didn't even know one famous WNBA player. They couldn't even think of a women athlete, professional athlete. Then they go into talking about, I've been viewing the controversy topic about WNBA. So it is actually proven that the support of the WNBA comes from Caucasian, white, older men. So we're talking about supporting women, but yet, just like the NBA, why? This is a good question to ask. Why, when the NBA plays, the WNBA plays, why isn't the stadium packed out just like it is in NBA? Why isn't it? Has been proven that there are more women on this earth, there are more females on this earth than it is males. But yet, when the WNBA play, the stadium is not even nearly close to being packed out as it is when the NBA professional basketball players play. So how could we say we're trying to present a movement, or we're trying to put a movement into play when women can't even support other women? I see it on a daily basis. I see it in the ministries. I see it on the jobs. I've had my own personal experiences in ministries, on my job. Let's talk about this R. Kelly issue, right? I remember when the issue came up with R. Kelly, and it was controversy on both sides. And they were saying, well, the young girl knew this and she shouldn't have done this. This, the outlandish part, this was coming from women, majority of women. Oh, she was just being a hot tail girl. She knew what she was doing. That's women misogyny. You as a woman have the audacity to say that this 15-year-old girl knows what she's doing. What in your mind gives you the give you even the thought to even think of that, when the appropriate thing to even think would be, this is a 15-year-old girl, 16-year-old girl, however old the young lady was, and here you have a grown man, child, adult, child, adult, child, adult, child, adult. I'm gonna say it again, child, adult. So any woman that tends to support those views displays to me that there is something unstable inside of you. You're dealing with, or you're walking in a place, in a space of female misogyny, internalized misogyny, where you as a woman have adopted the views of a man, because you can't even sympathize you can't empathize, nor can you sympathize what another female is feeling, because in your mind, in your subconscious, you have adopted the male's view, the male way, a man's way. You look like a woman, but your thoughts and your ways are abusive and denigrating and derogatory towards your own gender. Let's talk about that. It was women saying, oh, she was a hot tail girl. But nobody said, what about the parents? Nobody sympathized or even said, okay, well, what is this young lady when she do become a woman and she realized the ramifications, or she realized the manipulation, the manipulated stands that took place to get her in this position, how this is going to impact her mental health. But see, when you are a misogynistic woman, a woman that adopts the mindset of a man, you think that's okay, that's cool. And that's instability mentally. Mentally is something unstable with you. Because as a woman, you don't like women. You got an issue with women, meaning you got an issue with yourself. So let's talk about this issue. Another incident. When Taraji came out, everybody glorifies, well, I'm going to say a lot of people glorifies Oprah. Miss Oprah Winfrey. Let's talk about it. Now, there's so much controversy when it comes to her versus her being a woman of color, the support that she showed, the lack of support that she showed her people. Now there's controversy about her not even supporting women in Hollywood, women that are trying to come up, and the solid concrete evidence of this is, Miss Oprah Winfrey is considered to be one of the most wealthiest women in the world. I'm thinking, I know it's the United States, but in the world, from the last time I checked and done research. But when was the last time you actually seen her pulling other women up, or elevating other women, or when was the last time we actually seen her name on something that inspired other women than just her and Miss Gayle? And I'm gonna put Miss on it because I don't want to be that disrespectful, because then people will be saying I'm the one that's carrying female misogyny, right? But we talk about these women in power, but these women that tend to get in a place of power, they do the same thing that these men in power do, and they abuse women that are beneath them. They look at these women, they look at females as the weaker vessel. They don't try to stick their hand out and bring them up, encourage them, give them the game, so to speak. They take the ways of the male and they impart that into their dominant position, and they tend to abuse other women or other young women, and they make them subservient to them. So that's why I say we're talking about men, the men abusing women. We don't really need the men to abuse the women, because the women do enough towards each other. Let's talk about ministry. You have young women that come into the ministry hurt, broken, needing prayer, needing a covering, just looking for a woman to a mother figure. I've been there where I've gone into ministries thinking that, I'm going to get the support that I need from a woman. But when I go into the ministry, I link with the woman in charge or the first lady, right? You tend to share your business with them, and before you know it, it's mess all over the ministry, not knowing that it's the first lady or it's the wife that has created all this chaos in the ministry because of envy and jealousy. I remember growing up, I always did give this testimony. I remember growing up, and that's why I always did say that when I turned 18, I would never go back to church, which is ironic, because like I say, now I'm married to a pastor. Now I'm an evangelist. Now I'm an advocate of an agent of change. I'm an agent of ministry, and I fully, wholeheartedly invest my soul, my life, and my efforts into servitude towards people. However, I said when I turned 18, I would never go back to a church because there was so much judgment in the church. And more so, it wasn't the men that had to do it. It was the women that would beat young women down. I give this testimony and I say this all the time. Not one time did I ever have a woman come to me when I was out there living a fast life, when I was out there in the streets, when I was out there trying to find myself, when I was out there trying to survive. Not one woman, and I'm talking about family and all, family, not one woman ever came to me and sat down and tried to give me guidance. Now, did I meet a lot of female hustlers in the street that showed me the game, that gave me the game? Yeah, I met that. But what about the respect? In the ministry, in the churches, it was women talking about the way I dressed, the way I carried myself. But not one woman came to me and tried to embrace me with love and tell me, look, you should love yourself. You should respect yourself. No, they sat back like cackling hens and they talked about me as a young woman. And so that's why I say it's so hard for me at times, because when people do talk about this church hurt, I understand it. Me and my husband understand it. Let me keep him out of this, because I try not to talk about him, because this is a female platform. But I understand the church hurt, because we have been true victims of it. I can give you multiple testimonies, but this is the thing. You never want to let the people keep you away from what God wants to do in your life. You never want to let the people keep you away from that, because when trying to develop a relationship with God, it is not about the people in the ministry. It is about you and the relationship that you have with God. So with that being said, like I say, we're talking about the men showing inequalities, not supporting us, not being fair, not loving us. But look at what we do to ourselves. Look at what we do to our own gender, right? You like I say, you got so many young women out here that needs that motherly love, that needs that cheerleader. If nothing else, they need that guidance. But yet, when other women see these young women out in the street, girl, look at her. She ought to be ashamed of herself. No, why don't you walk in a spirit of boldness? Walk in a position of boldness and go over to that young lady, embrace her, give her some love, share some encouragement with her, give her your testimony, and try to bring her out of what she's in. But no, women, and you know what? I'm about, let me slow down. Not women, broken women. Broken women, damaged women do this. Hurt women that is battling with their own broken little girl on the inside. Those are the type of women that do this to these young women. And it's very unfortunate, because like I say, that was me. Every woman that I ever came in contact with, even the women that I idolized. I can give a prime example. I called myself want to go into a business. Relocated back here to Louisiana. This woman that I know, well known in the business world, on businesses, very wise, business-oriented woman, very strong-minded, strong-willed, to my knowledge, a woman of faith. See, I tend to admire strong women. I tend to admire strong women. I have a slight issue with women that lack strength, but with that being said, I tend to take on that Superman complex or Superwoman complex when I run into to women and even men or boys and girls that tend to carry that weaker complex, but strong women that knows how to carry their own, run a household, run businesses. That's what I admire, because as I said on the last broadcast, that's what I took to when I grew up. I always did admire the men in my family, and I always said that I never wanted to be a weaker woman or a more fragile vessel of an example of the women that I saw when I grew up. I said I never want to be that way. So I always did take my role models were men, because really I didn't have any women that I would have admired when it came to strength, other than the praying women that was committed in the word. But as far as like the strength, I don't really recall ever, really coming in contact with certain women. My stepmother, she was a gangster. I learned a lot from her. I had a friend girl. Her mom was a hard woman, and I took a lot from her. But I've always admired women with strength. So this particular woman in our community, when I decided to open my own business, I said, man, she would be the perfect person, because I knew her, I was familiar with her. I even encouraged a relative of mine to go and work for her. So I seek her out. I let her know what type of business I was trying to open and what I was trying to pursue. So when I call her up and I say, hey, I have this business idea. I would like to sit down with you and see if you can give me some guidance. I said, even if you needed me to pay for a consult, I would be willing to do that. So I guess she thought I was playing. Because most people, we do live in a community where it's a lot of talkers around here. You find most people around here that just talk. They talk the talk, but don't walk the walk. But see, I've never been that type of person. When I say this is the ideal and this is what's getting ready to happen, then that's what's getting ready to happen. So if you can't provide it for me, then I have to move around until I'm able to find someone that can provide me with the resources or direct me on the right path, because it has to happen. So I sit down with this lady, and I revered her, respect her greatly. I had an admiration for her. Sit down with her, tell her my business idea. So she tells me, I've invested in other women before. They ran out with my money. They've hurt me. They've done this, that. And I understand that. Her position was valid. Got it. Okay. But, sometimes you got to take a chance. You can't hold everybody accountable for what somebody else has done in the past. But I understood her position. Now, I would have preferred, because had it been me, I would have said, look, right now, the only thing that I can give you is guidance. But as far as wanting to help you or invest in anything, it's not, right now I'm not interested. I would have preferred her tell me that. Well, she sends me on this wild goose chase, and she tells me, well, first I need you to go and get your LLC. Then she said, well, in the process of getting your LLC, she said, also look for a building. So we sat down for maybe an hour and ran over business information and the logistics of everything, right? The ins and outs, the details. Let me be more plain. So I set out to go and get my LLC. Got that. So she says, well, when you get your LLC, text me, call me, and we're going to have another meeting. We'll sit down. So I'm assuming at this point, she wants to see if I'm really serious about what I'm talking about. I get the LLC done. Set up the appointment with this lady. I show up at the building at the time that she tell me, actually earlier. This woman is not at the meeting place. She does not answer her phone. She sends people to the door to tell me she's not there. But I hear her in the back. I'm texting and calling her phone. She doesn't text back, doesn't answer her phone. That's what a woman did to me, not a man, a woman. That's one thing out of a gazillion experiences that I've had with women. But yet women talk about the underhanded things that men do when women are also perpetuating the unhealthy, broken women, hurt women, insecure women, women that are still battling with that broken little girl on the inside. They are the ones that perpetuate this unhealthy abuse towards other women. So what are the notes that I put down? I talked about the Oprah and Taraji thing. Everybody knows that was a huge thing. And then we talked about the 40, when it comes to women's sports, it's only 44% women that support women's sports. So how could we say we have all of these feminist movements, these feminists that's advocating for women empowerment, but out of all of the women in the world, it's only 44%? But you all talk about the men. How are we going to get to a place of elevating or helping one another when we can't even help one another? I see it all the time. You see a woman that's on her stuff, that's elevating, that's running a business. You see somebody trying to come behind you, and this is the thing. This is the distorted thinking that damaged women, unhealthy women tend to possess. Instead of you looking at it as in, this young lady or this woman admires me, take a step back and say, okay, I have accomplished many of things, and this young woman or this woman admires me. Instead of perceiving it or viewing it that way, you're looking at it out of a dirty lens, right? And you tend to get in a space of being jealous or envious of the young lady that admires you. That's distorted thinking. That's back to that female misogyny. That then you switch into a position of jealousy, envy. Because this is what I don't understand. The world is so lucrative. It's so vast that we'll never lack. And so when there is somebody else that's trying to come up with a similar business to you, why not help them? Why not lift the other queen up and empower the other queen? You know, me and my gotta talk about my husband. That's my friend. I'm sorry, that's my best friend. That's my ride or die right there. We talk about all of these issues on a regular basis. Do you know, for close to 2 years, I decided to cut my hair off, dye my hair, I go to this female cosmetologist, cut my hair, dye my hair. First of all, she didn't do my hair like she said, like the picture I gave her. So I say, well, you know, that may just be a lack in her skills. You know, sometimes people say or think that they can do a style, but when you get in a person's hair, their texture is different. Go back to the woman after she do the style. I wasn't as pleased, but yet I said, okay, I'm gonna give her another try. Go back. She put dye in my hair. The dye's coming all out. So, and then the entire time I'm there, she's so focused on my husband and wanting to know about him. See, that's the problem. Envy, jealousy. You wanting what the next woman have, not understanding the challenges and the trials that this woman has gone through to even possess the little that she have. Now, this woman maliciously did what she did to my hair. Because the second time I go back to her, first of all, she didn't cut it right, didn't dye it right. But then when I go back to her, she put dye in my hair that was coming out the same night. Didn't use the same product. Now you're going to charge me an arm and a leg to do my hair, but then don't even give me the quality product. This is what women do to other women. You see another female at the store. Hey, who did your hair? Oh, girl, I don't even know. You don't know who did your hair? I don't get it. It's too much talent around here to the point where nobody, I mean, not one person needs to be envious or hating on another person. I mean, that's how communities thrive. This is how you grow. This is why so many cultures on the outside of people of color tend to thrive, because they understand that unity is what creates prosperity and elevation. But we can't even stick together when it comes to supporting one another with hairstylists. Oh, you done went to her? Oh, girl, don't come back to me and get your hair no more. I don't mess with her. What does that have to do with me spending my money, getting my hair done in this place? Okay, so I couldn't get in contact with you. I had to go to another person. So you shunned me because I chose to go to somebody else. That's not the way it's supposed to be. You should have a shop. What you can't do, what you are incapable of, you should have another female on speed dial and say, look, hey girl, this is above my expertise. Can you handle this for me? See, this is how networking works. This is how you grow in the business world. But see, people can't do that. Women especially. You got this clique over here, that clique over there. Then let's not talk about the so-called sisterhood. Let's not talk about the so-called sisterhood. I get so offended about that, about these females, these women that are always talking about a sisterhood. I'll give an example about my book. This so-called woman in our community that is a part of one of these sororities and supposed to be a woman of God. And yeah, I said supposed to be a woman of God. I remember when I got ready to write my first book, I paid money. Well, actually, somebody bought a ticket for me to go and attend her book signing. So we supported this woman, this sister, with money. And so I'm thinking she's a supportive woman. She's a queen that understands the struggle. So while we end up the book signing, she says, it's some, I feel it in my spirit. It's some people out there that got a book on the inside of them. Stoke my fire. I was ready to write my first book. So when I got ready to write my book, I reached out to this woman, the same woman that just had wrote a book that accumulated massive money from all of the women in the community that supported her. I goes to her and asked her, could she help me or guide me with writing my book? And she tells me she can't. She don't have, she told me she don't have the connection. She gave me every excuse but the words, okay, give me a date and a time and I'll sit down with you. So, but what she did do, she ended up connecting me to another sister that indeed helped me through my process, walked me through my process, encouraged me through my process, and helped me birth my first book. But see, that's what I'm saying. It shouldn't even, we as women, it shouldn't even be that way. Why do I have to be a part of a certain ministry or a certain sorority or a certain organization to get your assistance? Why do I have to come from a certain neighborhood, you know what I'm saying, or have a certain last name to get some assistance from you? When you as a successful woman understands the struggle of other women that are trying to become successful, we should be trying to band together. I don't know if I have comments. I can't see the comments, you guys. There I go with the you guys. I can't see the comments, queens. So after the broadcast, I'm gonna have to come back and check comments if I even have any. But on this app, I still have not learned how to view my comments. Here nor there, I'm still talking about the lack of support of women. We are talking about the abusive nature of men when there are several women all across this nation that tends to adopt the abusive demeanor, the same abusive behavior the same I would say power roles that men possess. It's just like thinking about that millionaire that was taken out, and this is all the content that I'm talking about with women versus women. That billionaire that was taking all of those young girls on a yacht and was sleeping with those young girls. He was connected to all of those politics, those politicians, and all of those well-known people that, those elite people, right? Who was bringing the young ladies in there? Can somebody raise their hand? Do you know who was bringing who was, what do they call it, recruiting the young women? It was another woman. It was another woman. It was a woman that was recruiting the young women to bring them in to be sex slave for these older, nasty, shriveled up, privileged men. She would befriend the young women, convince them, manipulate them, and get them on the yacht or get them in a place where these young women, they was getting jewels and they was getting little jewelry and money and trinkets. But see, what you all don't understand is this. When you are a young person, all of these worldly things are appealing to you. You think that the money is something. You think that the clothes, you think that all of this fashion is something, until you end up finding out that as a young person, you was manipulated by older people that you trusted, and you sold your soul in the process. And in the process of everything that took place, not only did you sell your soul, but you then end up in turn finding out when you become a woman that you was not as in control as you thought you was. You was actually the victim. And so when your mind fully develops, because science determines or states that a brain, an adolescent's brain, is not fully developed until the age of 25. So you're doing all of these, you're displaying all of this immature behavior as a young person. Oh, I got an older man buying me clothes, buying me shoes. He bought me a car. But at what cost? And so your mind is not fully developed. You got people, you looking at it from a view of, oh, these are what kid don't want clothes, shoes, money, to be pampered, right? But then you later on realize as an adult that you was manipulated and you was actually a victim of some nasty wolves in sheep clothing. The whole time you think you're doing something, but you was actually being abused and manipulated by people you thought you could trust. And see, that's what I'm saying. It's sad. It's sad that women tend to abuse other women. Women tend to abuse younger women. Women, what I've seen, tend to be more ruthless than men when it comes to abusing women. But we don't talk about that. We don't talk about the truth of that. We don't talk about when you see another sister or another female standing in front of you, you analyze her from the top of her head to the bottom of her feet, and you judge and you shun her without even getting to know her. This has been the story of my life. The story of my life. I can't go into a place, a ministry, a business without a woman being envious of me not knowing my story. And this is the outlandish part. I think I go into places where women tend to present a persona as caring women, right? And I give them snippets of my life story, because I say, sometimes it takes you just telling a person your story so people can understand why your personality is the way that it is. Because like we say all the time, there is a root cause to it all. So before we judge, we always want to, oh my goodness. Okay. So I'm sorry, got a mild interruption. The hubby done made it home. But before we tend to judge, we have to understand that there is a root cause to it all. When you see a young lady walking around here and she's loose and she's trying to get attention from every man that she see, it's an underlying issue. That young lady has been through some type of abuse at a very young age. Her body was subjected to something that you probably wouldn't even understand. So when your innocence is taken like that, you tend to know the only thing that you know is to use your body as an object, or use your body for gain, because as a young person, that's what you was sold into, right? But see, we don't think like that. People just tend to cast judgment. Other women tend to cast judgment instead of trying to sit down and take out the time to get to know why this young lady is doing the things she's doing, why she maneuvering the way she's maneuvering, right? So I say, well, maybe I need to start going in and just telling people, telling these women a part of why my demeanor is so strong. Maybe they'll have a little sympathy for me. If nothing else, a little empathy, because like I say, at the end of the day, I couldn't even get it out. At the end of the day, I don't want to, because I've been getting guidance about speaking too much on my goals and my plans. I declare and decree I'm going to be the next Oprah. Okay, but it don't matter how many people come against me, you all will not stop the plan that God has for me. So anyways, I tend to admire, again, like I say, business owners, women, strong women that's doing their thing in the business world. So I say, well, maybe I should, share a little bit of my story of why I am the way that I am, because it's like people tend to automatically judge me without even knowing. They look at the exterior and they automatically think that they know me. But what I have found and what I've seen with so many other young women is that as a woman, you go in extremely vulnerable and you share your stories in confidence and secrecy with these women. And these women take the information that you give them and they use it, they misuse it, abuse it, and they use it against you. And that is still female misogyny, where you have taken the weakness of a woman as a woman and you have turned that around to abuse the woman that is under you, that is subservient to you. Unhealthy women, broken women do these types of things. Trying to see. Last topic that I have. Another business issue, another business venue that we was exploring. I remember going into the schools 3 years. 3 years. 3 years trying to get into the schools. And I tell you, it is a shame. It is a shame that when you go into these schools, these secretaries at these front desks are so nasty. They are nasty. They are evil. They are disrespectful. They have no souls. And it's like a demon is actually inside of their spirits. They have no common courtesy when you go into these places. So for 3 years, I have been going into these schools. You got the gatekeepers. The gatekeepers are the ones that's trying to keep you out of doing something inspirational, or something empowering or enlightening that can help the community, help the people. I don't know why you all are trying to keep us out, because I mean, trust me, no matter how many lives we change, the pipeline that's set up for people of color to fail, it's still gonna be enough to fit in that mold, that systematic prison that's already set up for people of color to fail. So why be gatekeepers? Why not let a person in, a woman in, that can relate to these people, relate to these young people, that can at least try to change a few? That's a whole nother conversation, the pipeline and the racial disparities. I don't even want to get on that again. 3 years. 3 years. I've been knocking on the doors to go to the schools, get in the schools. And I feel like everything is a season. Go lay, girl. Everything is seasonal. So I say, well, you know what? Know what I'm going to do? I'm going to sit back for a second. I'm going to let my husband go in here and talk to the women. Hey, I'm going to let my husband go in here and talk to the women, because it's a man's world. Every school, every establishment that I tried to go to that I could not get in, it took my husband 1 day. 1 day. It's a man's world. That a woman couldn't help a woman. A sister couldn't help a sister. They gonna keep me out. But a man show up, and then a handsome man, because they thinking they gonna be able to have my husband. But like I say, see, this is what a business mind person will do. You're gonna use whatever you have to use to get in that door. Because whether or not my husband get the approval, or whether or not I get the approval, at the end of the day, we get the approval. And once I'm in the door, the change is happening. So you're not stopping nothing. So I said all of that to say this. Women, we talk about men beating us, denigrating us, talking bad about us, abusing us, keeping us from succeeding, keeping us from being the queens, the prosperous women, the capable women that we should be or can be. But yet, we don't even support one another. We don't even support one another. We don't need the men to do it, because we're doing it to one another. And I would like to know, when are we actually going to start supporting one another? When are we actually going to start encouraging one another? When is there going to be a time that you are going to say, man, I can relate to this woman? And even though she may have more potential than me, I'm going to stick my hand back out and help and support this woman, because I knew what it felt like when I didn't have that support. Why you as a woman go through all of the trials and tribulations and the hurt, the abuse, the unfairness, the unfair treatment from society, from men in the community, you elevate and you get placed in that position, and you remember all the struggles that you had to go through. But yet you see that other woman, that other young woman coming behind you. Instead of you sticking out your hand and making it easier for her, or even giving her, showing her the ropes, you tend to keep her down in a subservient place because of your wounded little girl on the inside. When are we as women going to get in a place of healing to where we can support, encourage, and inspire and empower one another for real? I'm talking about genuinely, not this fictitious stuff that's going on. Because if you are saying that you are a woman that's trying to empower women, there should not be a status or a quote, or there should not be a requirement on the next woman if you say you are a woman in power that is trying to empower. I should not have to come from a certain background or a certain name or a certain organization for you to help me. And should be the same for these other young women. You have young women coming to you that's saying, I want to come out of what I'm in. Why not at least give them the tools so that they can make a better life for themselves? So that they can become that living testimony, that woman or that young lady that defeated the odds. How are we ever going to get in a place of empowerment, a place of encouragement, a place of power, position of power or influence when we can't even stick together? I'm just saying, it's too many women that's a part of the problem. Let's become the solution. We need one another. Because just like you went through that struggle, I can't say it enough. You went through the struggle, so you know what it is to be a woman in those positions. So why not help the next woman? And I can understand you saying, okay, I don't want to help her because she's gonna go back to the same thing. Well, that's different. If you've extended your hand to women that choose to abuse and neglect and undermine the effort or the help that you've given, cut ties with that one. But there are so many more out there that are in need. So I'm just asking women, it is really time for us to start supporting one another. Defy that internal, broken, insecure young girl that you are battling with. Heal that young person, heal that little girl. And now it is time to step into real womanhood where queens can help empower and support other queens. And we can pull these princesses up from out of the place of stagnation, out of the place of low self-esteem, out of those places of not knowing who they are. It is our responsibility. It's supposedly what the word says, the tightest women, to reach back in the community, in society, to show these young women what it means to be healthy, whole, nourished women. But how can you do that until you heal that broken little girl that's still wounded inside of you? Queens, it's time for us to come together. It's time for us to put all that jealousy, that envy aside, because let me tell you something. You're not shining. I mean, you're not outshining your sister. You're not outshining the next woman. You're making us all look bad as a whole. Because men can still say that all it takes is one man to come in and divide a multitude of women, because women as a whole don't know who they are. And the ones that do, they're not helping the ones that don't. So what are we going to do, women? What are we going to do, queens? What are we going to do? I'm asking on today, be a part of the solution. Be a part of the empowerment to empower other women, help and support, because we need one another. This is your Queen Watisha, on the second broadcast, Women Monsters, Toxic Femininity, Never Mind My Voice. Hear my voice, queens, and make a change. Go and be great, be blessed, and I'll see you all on the next broadcast.